Well, welcome to Christ in Culture. This is Pastor Jeff Short. Glad to have you along for our discussion today, where we take up a topic in the news, a contemporary cultural topic, and discuss it from a Christian biblical worldview. We want to find out what God has to say. We want to come at every issue in life, every topic in life. We want to come at it from God's perspective as revealed in the Word of God. And so today we're going to be talking more about the recent leak from the Supreme Court that basically says that Roe v. Wade is being overturned. It's just a matter of time. And what this is doing now to the left, the liberals, the progressives, is that it is driving them insane. And so we see article after article, news clip after news clip, commentary on the mainstream media. We're seeing the leftists, liberals, radicals just fomenting at the mouth at the idea that states could decide for their own state as to whether the abortions should continue or not. And we're talking about baby killing. We're talking about murdering children in the womb. And states now will be able to, once this Supreme Court decision goes through, will be able to decide if they will ban abortion outright, which is the best alternative, or if they regulate it, or if they allow it, to what degree they allow it. So it'll go back to the states instead of the Supreme Court at the federal level mandating that all 50 states must have abortion and make it legal. And so that's the way Roe v. Wade decided that the federal government will impose abortion on all 50 states. The current court, the conservative court, is about ready to reverse Roe v. Wade because it was a terrible decision. It was not constitutional. It never was constitutional. It is a mythical right. There is no right in the Constitution for an abortion, that is killing your offspring. No woman should ever be given a right to do a wrong. No right can become a wrong. No wrong can become a right. And the government certainly should not be sanctioning that wrong. Now, by pushing it back to the states, that's a partial solution because we know that there are states already that are going to continue to have abortions, like New York, California, Colorado, the West Coast, Oregon, Washington, and a lot of the New England states, the liberal East Coast states. We know that they will not only continue abortions, but in some cases even make abortions more available with more public funding of abortions to make it easier for women to kill their baby, which is completely insane. But today we're going to be talking about some of the efforts now by these liberal leftists to try to prevent Roe v. Wade, I guess, from being reversed. They want to put pressure on the Supreme Court. They want to do something, intervene before this decision comes down. And part of their approach is to get all the leftist liberal politicians in Washington, the Democrats, this is a Democratic thing mostly, to try to get them to whip up public support for not reversing Roe v. Wade, to try to pressure these justices, these conservative justices, and make them back down and say, oh, well, it looks like there's a hue and cry in the public, so we can't do this. It would undermine the court's legitimacy, undermine the court's standing in society, and people would ignore it and so forth. So they're trying to get the court to back down from its apparent reversal of Roe v. Wade. And now they're recruiting congressmen, senators, politicians, celebrities, popular cultural figures, and trying to speak out against the court reversing Roe v. Wade. So here is the latest attempt by members of Congress. I made the best decision for me. Congress gets personal about abortion. So what they're going to do is not give you an actual argument against abortion. They're going to give you an emotional sob story as to why these women needed to have an abortion. So it's an emotional appeal. It's not a it's not an actual argument. It's not an actual rationale. And so what they're doing is they're trotting out some of the women in our government, the Democrats, the liberals, who have had abortions and who are going to say, I needed to make that choice. I have to have that choice. I just had to have that abortion. I just needed to kill my child. I was in a different place in my life at that time. And even this congressman, he said his wife needed to have an abortion, and so he wanted to facilitate that. Now, it's interesting, these politicians are all have their face covered, and that's really symbolic of the whole abortion issue from the left. They are ashamed, but they don't want to admit that they're ashamed, and so they're hiding behind their mask. What are they doing? The pandemic is basically over. The Omicron variant is cold-like symptoms, and if you catch the Omicron variant of COVID-19, you're not going to die, most likely, and you're not going to even go to the hospital, and you may not even have symptoms. And so what are they doing with these masks? Well, it's just an excuse to hide their face because they are promoting a shameful act. An abortion is a shameful act. So they don't have to have their masks on at this point. They've all been vaccinated. They've been double vaxxed. They've been triple vaxxed, quadruple vaxxed. They've been boosted and everything else. They have the best health care, and they have every opportunity to not be sick or die or hospitalized by COVID-19, and so they don't need the mask. There's no reason why they have masks on, but again, they're ashamed, and it's easier to push a shameful act like abortion behind a mask to hide your face than it is to say straight-facedly, yeah, I'm for abortion. So there's more than just the mask to avoid a harmless COVID-19 variant. It's actually a strategy for avoiding guilt and shame in these people because they're pushing something shameful. It says, the article here says, it's been nearly 50 years since the Supreme Court ruling in Roe v. Wade established the constitutional right to have an abortion in the United States. See, that's important. The court established the constitutional right. The Constitution did not have the right of abortion, and so the court imposed an artificial right called abortion on all 50 states. That's what's wrong with Roe v. Wade. It imposed a false, fake, faux right. And so the court today, the conservative justices led by Samuel Alito, who wrote that first draft that was leaked, they are undoing a gross mistake. That's what they're doing. And millions of leftist Democrats, they don't want a mistake undone. They want that mistake to continue because it gives them the ability to kill their offspring whenever they want. And that is not a right that the Constitution gives. That's not a right that God gives. That's not a rational right of any society. And yet it has been a right in this artificial fake sense, fiat sense that the court imposed in 1973. It's been around for 50 years and they want to keep it. Well, this is how they're trying to keep it. They're trying to whip up public pressure and sentiment against changing it, but it's still going to go down. We need to pray that these conservative justices stand forth and are strong in their convictions. Today, millions of Americans are facing a potential future without that protection. Right, they're facing a potential future where American women cannot kill their babies. That's a good thing. And these people are acting like it's a bad thing. It shows you how twisted and sick much of our population is today, much of our leadership is today. It was reported on Monday that the Supreme Court had already privately voted to strike down Roe. Praise God. Yay. Let's celebrate that. Per a leak of the initial draft majority opinion obtained by Politico. If the decision gets published, as is, most likely this summer, around half the states in the country are poised to ban abortion. Yay, great. That's the only sane, rational approach. You ban abortion because it's murder, it's baby killing. No human being has a right to kill a baby, an innocent baby that hasn't done anything wrong. Over the last few years, states have been passing trigger laws which make abortion illegal as soon as the court allows it. Some states have also been voting in favor of a record number of other restrictions, including imposing patient waiting periods, burdening clinics with costly and medical unnecessary requirements aimed at shutting them down, and a policy du jour among Republicans banning abortions at various points of pre-viability as early as 6 weeks before most people know they are pregnant. You mean most women? See, the left cannot say women because they want to include the transgender people. So I have to say birthing people. This absurd logic. Well, we're facing an old absurd logic in Roe v. Wade, and we're trying to correct that decision with reversing it. Abortion remains legal for now, but as we prepare for a nation without Roe, Elle, the magazine, brought together 5 members of Congress who have been open about their personal experiences with abortion. In other words, they've been open about their personal experience about murdering their offspring, baby killing. Representatives Cori Bush, Pramila Jayapal, Barbara Lee, and Jackie Speer, and Senator Gary Peters. The members gathered at the U.S. Capitol in February to discuss how to protect access. So, in other words, how to protect mothers killing their babies. That's what they've gathered to discuss, how they can help mothers slaughter their offspring. Let's say it like it is. That's the thing about the left. They don't want to discuss what abortion really is. They want to talk about access. They want to talk about reproductive health care. They want to talk about freedom of choice. They want to talk about everything under the moon except the core central issue, which is a baby is being shredded, ripped to shreds, slaughtered in her mother's womb by her mother's will at the hands of an abortion murderer. That's what it's all about. But they don't want to talk about that. They want to talk about access. Of the 536 members of the current Congress, these 5 are the only ones to have gone on record with their abortion stories. They are likely more, given the recent estimates that found that nearly 1/4 of women in the U.S. will have an abortion in their lifetime. I've even heard more, like 1/3 of all women have either had an abortion or will have an abortion under the current law. 1/3 of women are murderers, have killed their offspring, chosen by their free will to have killed their own children. That's awful. That's terrible. These members chose to participate in Elle's historic roundtable discussion because they know the power that comes from making the political personal. Okay, so the strategy here is to tell a sob story, get really emotional, bypass any rational, sane, logical, wise, principled discussion, and just go on on emotions of the moment. Yeah, that's a really terrible way to talk about morality. In sharing their own stories, they're giving a voice to the hundreds of thousands of people who, each year, for hundreds of thousands of reasons, choose to have an abortion. Well, there are all hundreds of thousands of reasons to have an abortion. There's only one reason not to, and that is, it's murder. And that one reason overwhelms all of the other fake reasons to have one. It is murder. Thou shalt not murder. 10 Commandments, look it up. Basic bedrock morality. thou shalt not take the life of an innocent person. That is not morally defensible. So just because you want to go to college and you're a woman and you get pregnant doesn't mean you can kill someone. Just because you already have children of your own and you're a middle-aged woman and you get pregnant does not mean you can kill your offspring because you don't think you can fit another member, a baby, in your family. No, that's not justification. Abortion patients are your neighbors, your friends, your colleagues, and yes, even your elected officials. Below are their words. They discuss why abortion rights are so essential. Yes, abortion patients. You mean people seeking to kill their offspring are your neighbors. Your friends are also seeking to kill their babies. Your colleagues are seeking to slaughter their offspring. Put it in the right perspective. And yes, even your political elected officials, they want to kill their babies too. So let's look at one woman, a very notorious Democrat. She is really radically leftist, and you can always count on this woman, Cori Bush, to take the wrong side of every single moral issue you can imagine. Let's hear her story. Let's see how she can justify killing her child. I was 17 when I got pregnant, okay? We went from just talking, and the next thing I knew, he was on top of me. Oh, it just out of the blue, I was just talking to someone in a coffee shop, and the next thing you know, he was raping me. That's what she's saying. Oh, really? Oh, really? Is that what happened? I literally didn't know what was happening. Did I say something wrong? I'm just remember lying there. So she's a victim. She's playing a victim. She's saying, it just happened and I was raped. And who was this person? And how had you known them? And why were you associating with them? And did you know anything about them before you decided to go someplace alone with them? Why were you alone with them? You know, a lot of questions here. Was it because of her ignorance? Was it because of her foolishness? You know, she's playing the victim. She's saying, a few weeks later, I found out that I was pregnant. I was able to go to the Yellow Pages and call for abortion hitman to kill my child who was growing in me. I didn't have to jump through the hoops or anything. Yeah, it was really easy under Roe v. Wade. That's why we want to reverse Roe v. Wade, because it's too easy to kill people. And no people in a society should ever have an easy way of killing someone. You shouldn't be able to just pick up a phone and call a hired assassin, a hitman, a contract killer. You shouldn't be able to do that. That's wrong. Not only is abortion wrong, it's wrong to be able to easily access a morally evil thing. When I went into my own consultation, I'll never forget how I was treated. I'll never forget being told, if you don't do this, you're going to be on welfare. Do this, do what? Well, if you don't have an abortion, if you don't kill your child, if you don't slaughter your own offspring, if you don't kill your baby, you're going to be on welfare. And what she should have done right then and there is said, look, I don't care if I'm out on the streets. I'm not going to kill my baby. That's my baby. That child inside of me is my child, and I'm not going to kill it. I don't care if I have to live in poverty the rest of my life. So is she trying to say that these evil people who were encouraging her to have an abortion were putting it to her this way? Either you have this abortion, either you kill your baby, or you're going to be poor for the rest of your life. And she thought, well, gee, I don't want to be poor. I better kill my baby because, I might be poor the rest of my life. Half the world is poor. So should half the world kill all their children? It just doesn't make any sense. I just remember feeling so hurt and I just didn't know what to do. Oh, okay. So now she is confessing that she was confused. She didn't have a clue as to what to do. And so she basically deferred to the abortion industry. I felt very alone, but I had the option to make the decision to go ahead or not. Oh, really? It sounds to me like you're being compelled to do this. It sounds to me that the decision was forced, or at least you felt that was forced. The abortion industry was trying to tell you, if you don't do this, bad things are going to happen, terrible things are going to happen, it's going to be awful for you. And they made her anxious and anxiety that she really didn't have much of a choice, it seems like she was saying. I made the best decision for me because mentally and emotionally I was not in a good place. Okay. She made the best decision for me. Well, what about the baby? Did you make the best decision for your baby? See, that's the way mothers are supposed to think. What is best for my baby? How can I protect my baby? How can I be the defender of my baby? And so she came down on the side of, I'm going to be a selfish pig and think about me, only me, not my baby. I made the best decision for me. Yeah, you did. You made the best selfish, self-centered decision that you could possibly make. It changed my life because it gave me the space to be able to take care of Corey first. Oh boy, how can you get away with being a public leader and being a selfish pig? This woman is expressing pure selfishness in her decision to go ahead with her abortion. She's making a decision that will affect her and her baby, because if you kill your baby through abortion, you're going to take a life. You're taking a human life. And yeah, she made a totally selfish decision. And that's her argument. That, I guess, is her best argument for abortion, is to take the life of her child and say it was the best decision she could make. Okay, here's a Representative Jackie Spear, and her story is different because she had an abortion when she was 40. It says, I was 40 years old when I had an abortion at 17 weeks. The fetus had slipped through the cervix into the vagina and put me upside down in a hospital bed. Trying to have the fetus return to the uterus, it just wasn't happening. Okay, so she had a medical emergency. So I decided that it was time to have an abortion. The majority of women who have abortions are mothers. I was a mother. I wanted the baby, but it wasn't meant to be. I told my story on the House floor in 2011 because the very first bill that my colleagues on the other side of the aisle had introduced with H.R. 1, which was to defund Title X, Title 10. It was targeted at Planned Parenthood, and they were particularly focused on second trimester abortions, which was what I had. Okay, what she has is not what Planned Parenthood promotes in second trimester abortions. What she had was a medical complication. That is not the same as 99.9% of all abortions. So she's trying to say, because I had a medical complication, a medical emergency, and they had to perform an abortion on me, that's the same as all of the other women coming for abortions. No, it's not. It's a totally different thing. I remember my colleagues on the other side of the aisle talking about sawing off limbs. I felt this rage built up inside of me, and I thought to myself, how dare you talk about something you know nothing about? Well, we do know something about what murder is. We know something about what slaughtering infants is. And so, yeah, we can talk about abortion. even though we never have gone through an abortion, and hopefully none of these women will go through an abortion, or these men will have to go through an abortion with their wives or girlfriends or whomever. But that doesn't mean we can't talk about something. Lawmakers have to talk about rape. They have to talk about assault, but they've never gone through them, right? So, no, you can't just block off topics because the people haven't gone through them personally. That would eliminate pretty much all conversation about anything. So, as she said, when I got up to speak, I said, I had a procedure. Yeah, you had a procedure that killed your child. Now, my question in her case was there an operation that could be done? Was there anything medically that could be done? Or did she just at that point say, oh, this is going to be a complicated pregnancy, let's just terminate, let's just kill the baby? I don't know. We don't have enough details. But I would first want to know, was this medically necessary, this abortion medically necessary? If it was, okay, well then she should look and acknowledge the difference between a medical necessary abortion and an elective choosing to kill your baby abortion, because that is what most of them are, choosing to kill your baby, not this emergency situation. So why is she lumping that in with the others? Totally different moral questions. And then she said, when I got to speak, I said, I had the procedure. I was trembling. Okay, the emotional appeal here. I walked back to my chamber, and the late John Lewis was standing there, tears in his eyes. So again, this is an emotional, feeling-based argument. She needs to learn how to distinguish between different situations and what is happening for 99.9% of abortions. 99.9% of abortions are because women don't want the child. That's it. Evidently, she wanted the child, but she felt she couldn't because the baby wasn't forming or wasn't positioned right in her body. Okay, whether that is true, that there was no medical technique that could have corrected this, I don't know. We don't know the details, but she felt it wasn't. So she had an abortion. That's a different situation. He said, Jackie, that's one of the most powerful speeches I've heard on this floor. So, in other words, they go through person by person with this emotional argument. That is the worst kind of reasoning that you can do with morality. You cannot make cases based on emotion. You have to look at the facts. You have to look at the principles of morality, and you have to consider those first, not tear-jerking, I felt this way at that moment when they told me I was pregnant and I had a future ahead of me planned out, and now it was going to be taken from me, blah, blah, blah. You can't jump into those kind of reasoning processes. You have to go with what is right, what is moral, and what should I be doing instead of how do I feel. So beware of these arguments. You're going to hear a lot of them. We need to pray for the justices to stand strong. And we'll see you back next week. God bless.